In this video, I'm going to talk about how to game plan as a support when you're starting the game, why game planning is important, and how it can inform your decision making later on in the game. Now, first and foremost, before we can realistically talk about game planning, we need to understand like what the point of game planning is, and to understand that we need to understand like what the role of the support is. The role of the position 4 and the position 5 in the game is to enable cores to make impactful plays around the map. And we do this by basically putting ourselves positioning ourselves with the core or the two cores that are currently making the space for the one or two cores who are consuming space. The transition out of the laning stage around minute 7 or 8, in that case, there's going to be one core and two supports playing with each other. And then as we kind of transition into the mid game, there's going to be two cores and two supports playing together, making space for one core consuming space. And then eventually we get to the late game where it's going to be more of an ebb and flow of all players wanting to fight together. Now, with that in mind, specifically, like I said, with our role as a support, our job is to play with the characters, play with the cores who are trying to fight and are actively trying to make space around the map. Now, this is, as far as the game plan goes, this is something that I'm formulating like as the drafting is going on. I typically pick first round when I'm playing as a support in a game. So my teammates are going to be picking around me, and I'm going to be kind of developing my game plan as my allies are picking heroes and as the enemy's picking heroes. And kind of the synthesis of my game plan going into the game is about 65% like what is my draft, 35% like what is their draft. Because my game plan isn't going to change too horribly much based on the performance of what my team is doing, but my game plan as the game is going on is going to change much more significantly in response to what the other team is doing, like how to respond to the other team and who their enablers are and who's their win condition and whatnot. With that in mind, with this draft that I have on my team, the game is started, and I'm looking at myself as a Jakiro, and I'm looking at my lineup. I have a Lycan offlane, a Batrider mid, a Sven as a carry, and an Earth Spirit 4. Earth Spirit is one of the best playmaking position 4s in the game, and I'm one of the strongest laning cores in the game. So I'm immediately thinking, okay, I can play with my Earth Spirit alone to make plays. That's also important. So if there's ever a time where I can make enough space for Sven bottom that I can transition to go somewhere else, I could potentially just roam with Earth Spirit and still make significant plays. But beyond that, during the laning stage itself, I am kind of game planning for like the laning stage, specifically with what my lane matchup is going to be, but this video is going to be looking more at more of the post laning stage game plan. So with that in mind, I'm looking at Sven, Batrider, and Lycan. And the nice thing about this draft is that all three of these cores have ultimates that I want to play around. Batrider with his lasso, Lycan with his shapeshift, Sven with his god strength. Now, typically, Sven. Now, if my carry was a carry like Luna, or maybe like a carry like Bloodseeker, Luna's oftentimes skip their ultimate, but Bloodseeker, it's never really a choice to skip you're always gonna, get your ult at 6. For carries who have team fighting ult, I guess like Bloodseeker, like Faceless Void, I am definitely going to want to consider playing around my carry when that ultimate is up, because ultimately my carry should want to use their ult off cooldown to get kills. But with Sven, even though he does have a good ult that it could be good for fighting, he can use this ult to farm. So I'm looking at this Sven as more of like a Luna not scaling an ult, where like he's just going, in the case of Luna, you just don't scale your ult at all. You get your, Q, W, and E and just farm, farm, farm. With a Sven, you do scale your ult, but you still have to just farm, farm, farm. You don't necessarily want to use it to fight. So in this case, I'm going to look at this Sven as like a Luna who's not scaling their ult. He's just going to want to consume space on the map. There's not really ever going to be a time where I would want to play around him. and I typically want to just play on the opposite side of the map as him and make space for him. And then that leaves me with Lycan and Batrider. Now, with Lycan and Batrider, they both have amazing ults, great at getting kills, but they both have a long cooldown. So essentially, and I've been really elaborating on my thought process. This is all, everything that I'm saying now is kind of a process that takes me about 20 to 30 seconds to formulate all this in my head, before each game. But for the sake of it, elaborating for the video, yes, I'm thinking to myself, yes, Batrider and Lycan have ultimates I would want to play around. They're really strong at getting kills, but they both have really long cooldowns. 2 minutes for level 1 Bat ult, and just over 2 minutes for the level 1 Lycan ult. So, at the minute 6, 7, 8 mark, when the laning stage breaks down, and the laning stage breaks down, remember, the laning stage breaks down when either one of the supports permanently rotates to a different lane, or once the first core start hitting level 6. That's when the laning stage kind of breaks down and the metagame starts. And the metagame being the phase of the game where traditionally 1 core and 2 supports are going to be positioning themselves to make space on the map for the other 2 cores to consume space. So once the laning stage breaks down, I'm going to be looking to Batrider and Lycan. And basically, my game plan for minute 7, 8, once the metagame starts, into maybe minute 12, 14, 15, when that kind of the mid-game kind of starts, I'm going to be looking to just tape myself to this Batrider or Lycan. So basically, once the time, once one of these guys hits level 6, that's going to be me leaving my lane and just positioning myself around one of these 2 heroes. Most likely Batrider first. He's probably going to hit 6 first, being mid. So as soon as Batrider hits 6, I make the transition to be around Batrider because I want to be around Batrider to put pressure on the map to force the enemy team to respond, so I can enable Batrider to use his ult to get it off cooldown. Then the moment Batrider uses his ult, most likely Lycan will then be level 6. Then as soon as Batrider uses his ult, it's on cooldown. He's now going to want to consume space until his ult is back up. I'm then going to walk on over and try and play with this Lycan. And play with Lycan, probably pressure this tower, play with Lycan until we use his ult to either pressure the tower or get a kill. And then at that point, just from my experience, playing at a high level, there's probably going to be, 50, 40 seconds left on Lasso, at which point I'm going to want to sit back and maybe just chill for a minute, play some defensive wards, and wait for the Lasso to come back off cooldown. Or I might just go bottom and maybe just sit behind Sven and potentially counter gank or counter initiate on a gank going on Sven to help save him, because there's nothing else really better for me to do. But yeah, so the reason why kind of developing a game plan is important, because it will help inform your decisions later on. Like during the early parts of the game, you have moment of respite where there's not a whole lot going on. You can really think about, okay, how do I want this game to go? Now, obviously, the game isn't most games don't go exactly how you want it to go. Lanes are going to go poorly and whatnot, but at least with a game plan, you have an idea of how you want to play. And obviously, you have to constantly be reinterpreting that game plan as the game progresses, as things manifest and whatnot. But this will basically ease up a lot of just cognitive space for you as you're playing. So instead of trying to think about, where do I need to be at this one time, if you kind of develop that game-by-game game plan each game, it will inform your decision-making in the game to relieve that cognitive pressure from kind of formulating that mid-game when there's other things going around, and you can kind of revert back to the game plan that you've already made. Now, that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as more the holistic game plan for like my own team composition. And sometimes, I still look over here to the enemy team's draft and consider, what is their game plan? What are they going to be doing? And so that was my, how I develop a game plan before the game starts. Now I'm going to kind of play through this game and kind of give some live commentary on where I'm positioning myself, why I'm positioning myself where I am, and to show like my game plan is informing my decision making and my positioning around the map. but also how that's kind of changing and adapting game by game, or not game by game, but like as the game progresses, that plan is going to slightly shift just based on the the novel circumstances that you're going to find yourself in. Skip ahead a little bit. So in this lane, even though Sven came in this game with like a 7-game win streak on Sven, he was playing extremely aggressively, where especially before he died here, he wasn't really leveraging defensive creep aggro that much. He was just getting absolutely just like blitz raked by the Sven and the Skywrath. And ultimately, like, if I'm not in lane and he's here against a Timber and a Skywrath alone, yeah, he's gonna take some damage, but he definitely like shouldn't be dying, because like ultimately, if they're both here, screwing with him, I'm gonna be over here pulling the jungle, and the lane's eventually gonna come back and be in the power pocket or under tower where you can safely free farm anyway. But all in all, the game plan isn't going great. Sven already died. I'm buying a lot of regen to keep Sven topped off to keep him farming. And pretty early on, I'm thinking to myself, this lane isn't going great. We're not going to be able to necessarily get kills here. And I'm immediately kind of thinking like, all right, like, when is the earliest possible time that I can leave this lane and make impact elsewhere? Now you might ask yourself, like, why are you playing over here and not over here? It's just kind of general high-level laning philosophy. Like, I'm trying to play away from my Sven as much as possible to get him as much gold and experience as possible. I'm giving him experience by just not playing in the experience radius of the enemy creeps. And I'm giving him gold by basically constantly pulling the wave, denying the enemy experience, and keeping the creep wave either under the tower or, more optimally, in the power pocket. But I'm looking at the game. I'm constantly eyeballing. Actually, we could probably just look at my perspective here. That'd probably be better. But is this my perspective? This is not my perspective. Okay, player view. That's why. Okay. Yeah, so when I was talking about there was a moment where I kind of like took a moment, looked away from my lane, clicked on my Lycan, what level is he? Clicked on my Batrider, what level is he? Because I'm kind of thinking, I just want to leave the lane in general anyway, to play away from Sven. But there comes a point where, especially at the transition into the meta game where the first course hit level 6, at that point I just want to play away from Sven, because I can create an immense amount of pressure and force responses to the other spots on the map away from where away from where Sven is, by nature of playing with my Lycan or my Batrider. And a lot of low-level players think, oh, I need to protect my carry farming, so I'm going to sit wherever my carry is. That's going to bring a lot of attention to the Sven. You are going to apply pressure on the map wherever your hero avatar is on the map. If you want enemy heroes to be top, position your hero avatar top. And that will low and pressure the enemies to come to you. It also, to a certain degree, pressure your allies to be there as well. But in general, I'm actively looking for opportunities to leave this lane, because at this point, I would be more, because like I want Sven to get farm, and the most efficient thing for me to do to enable Sven to get farm at this point would just be to play away from him and play with a core that's strong and divert attention away from this bot lane as much as possible. That's a really good salve. I got basically the full duration of the salve off. I think we're going to turn around and get a kill here, which was a big mistake by the Skywrath there. Now, it's minute 6. Some cores could be hitting level 6 at this point. See, Batrider's level 7 now. And at this point, minute 6, I should be looking to the other lanes and saying, all right, who's level 6? And right around now is kind of when I should be thinking about leaving and just playing elsewhere on the map. Right here, I'm warding up to give Sven defensive boards, so when I do leave, he has the vision that he needs to be successful. Sometimes when I'm, especially around these times when I'm thinking about this transition, I'm thinking to myself, all right, what do I need to do here where I'm at before I can leave? And one of the big things as a support, especially as position 5, trying to support and enable my carry is getting wards down with both sentries, if there's invisible heroes, as well as observer wards. Putting down wards in the two spots where the enemy can access them, getting wards down to give them complete vision of all the vision they would need. And basically, I think to myself, all right, what do I need to do to leave this lane? I need to give them vision so they can see what's coming if they're coming to gank them. So I get those wards down, and then that's my threshold. All right, got the wards down, and then I immediately transition. And here you see me now mid. I see Batrider has his ultimate off cooldown. I'm level 4. I'm weak. However, I am level 4 and I'm weak, but I'm strong with Batrider. Like, I do low damage. I don't have great disable at this point. However, by nature of me playing around my Batrider, who is extremely strong, that makes me strong because I'm now paired with a strong core. And that's a huge, huge, huge philosophy of just playing and being a top 1,000 support player, thinking to yourself like, yes, I'm weak. Because oftentimes during the laning stage, the lower level I am coming out of the laning stage, the better the lane went. Because the lower level I am, the more experience my core has. And that's good. There are some games I come out of the laning stage at level 2. And some of like the games where I come out of the laning stage at level 2 is where I'm like, wow, that laning stage went great. And yes, I'm level 2. I have a crappy damage slow. I have a crappy stun, playing, Jakiro in this example. But, let's say I came out of this at level 2. Like, I have a crappy slow, low damage, crappy stun. However, a crappy slow and a crappy stun is way, way, way stronger when I'm playing with an alpha Chad, top net worth in the game. I'm assuming he's top net worth in the game, like Batrider. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, where is Batrider? I want to play around Batrider. Now here, I see that Arc Warden got dumpster top. I see my Sven with God Strength right there, and I did make the executive decision. Now this is kind of like a deviation from the game plan. During the game plan, I thought to myself, play away from Sven, play away from Sven, play away from Sven as much as possible. I don't want to be around Sven at all. However, during that one in particular example, I see Arc Warden's 5, no boots. Sven boots. He has God Strength. I have a slow. That's a free kill. So I just walked to where Sven is to get that kill. And that's like an on-the-fly decision I made where it's like, yeah, I don't want to play around Sven, but in this moment, like, that just makes sense. That's good. That's the play. And as you saw, I went up and I got a kill with the Sven top, and then I TP'd bottom. Now, I see that Lycan used his ult. So now, as far as like, carries consuming space, or not carries, but cores consuming space, Lycan just used his ultimate. He is now basically a creep for 120 seconds. 90 seconds now, but, I guess it's around 90 seconds after the ult actually wears off. But he is now a creep for 90 seconds. He can't fight. Lycan is now going to want to consume space on the map because he doesn't feel unable to fight. That's fine, because he uses ultimate. He made a lot of pressure with his ultimate. He got a kill with his ultimate. He expended his ultimate efficiently. It was worth it, right? And now he needs to take a moment to go back and reset. And as a support, now that he's in this transitionary period where he's waiting for his ult to come back up, he's consuming space, getting farm. I'm now going to go play with the core whose ult is off cooldown. They're ready to fight because by playing with that core, I can then, continue to make the space, make the map space that Sven is consuming and now Lycan is consuming. And I do that by playing with the Batrider in this case. Now, here I don't really agree with Batrider. Batrider had his ult off cooldown. He was actively consuming space, taking farm in the map. However, he is going to go back to base, reset, and I think TP mid. But That's just if I remember right. But in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go wherever Batrider goes. If Batrider TP's top, I'm walking top. If Batrider TP's mid, I'm walking mid. I'm eyeballing the map right now. Like right now, I can assure you, I'm eyeballing the map, thinking to myself, like, where is Batrider? Where's Batrider? Where's Batrider?
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
I kind of made that move bottom because there's no one there to consume that golden experience bottom. I think Lycan really should have been there to consume that golden experience, but he wasn't, so I was kind of making that move to do that. However, as you saw, I'm like, this is dangerous for me, and I go right back with Batrider.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Now, I'm not going to lie, if I remember correct, this fight doesn't go well. We maybe get 1 kill or maybe no kills here. Okay, well, I think we do get a big kill on this Timbersaw, which is big. That's a big kill. That's great. Timbersaw is like the strongest core in the game, and the fact that that core is dead is big. Now, we committed Lasso, we committed Shapeshift, Macropire, or Spirital. We committed everything there to get that kill on Timbersaw. We can certainly argue maybe we should have gotten more. However, fighting, the secondary goal is to get kills. The primary goal of fighting together, especially during this metagame phase of the game, is partially to get kills, but mostly just to make space on the map. If we would have engaged that, dumped all of our ultimates, and we were able to, just retreat completely unscathed, we lost no heroes, they lost no heroes, that would be a win for us because we're actively making space for Sven on the map. And that's the real goal here. But I think that this is going to wrap this video up. I think I've really beaten my point home. And that being, 1, developing a game plan before the game starts, why that's important, how that could relieve cognitive weight from you as you're trying to interpret the game, read the game, and play the game, because that's very, cognitively straining, right? It takes a lot of cognitive resources to, kind of be constantly reading the non-verbal communication between, your teammates, where do I need to be, whatnot. Just developing that game plan before the game is going to give you a guide, kind of a decision-making guide throughout the game. And also, I give you guys some insight on what I'm thinking, why I'm positioning myself where I am, and hopefully just give you guys some basic heuristics. And I think in some later videos, I'm going to kind of try and break down these basic heuristics more robustly. But, yeah, this game developed a game plan, and I executed the game plan to the best to my abilities. Kind of give you guys some verbal, walkthroughs of what I'm thinking and stuff, and also how my game plan kind of deviated sometimes. My Batrider maybe wasn't as aggressive as I would have liked to have been. I played with them a lot, and that one time I went top to get a kill with Sven. I moved away from Batrider to try and leech some experience from the bot lane when I thought I could. It's kind of a waste of time for me to just kind of walk bottom to achieve nothing, but in retrospect, I could, think back and realize that was a mistake, but that's at least, what I was thinking. And I hope you found this informative, for both, the importance of game planning and also some general heuristics for the core and support roles. And stay tuned for more videos.